Well, now to this new development, a man wrongfully convicted of a 2007 homicide in Cordova will have to wait another day before he gets out of prison. Andrew Hayes has spent nearly 2 decades behind bars for the murder of Danny Harris. After multiple postponements, a hearing finally underway.
So Action News 5's Michaela Redmond joins us live from outside 201 Poplar right now. And Michaela, it was back in January when the Shelby County District Attorney's Office announced Hayes was wrongfully convicted, right?
During opening statements, Hayes' attorney stated the evidence, new and old, will show that Hayes never should have been convicted. 2 people testified today, including a criminal defense investigator and an expert in false confessions. Through that testimony, Hayes' defense team painted a clear picture that Hayes didn't even meet Tammy Vance, Danny Harris's girlfriend, and her daughter until after the murder they committed. Cell phone data places Vance and Lucas with Harris's phone on the day of the murder, and continuing to use it in the weeks after, along with his ATM card. Old evidence overlooked during the initial trial also shows that Lucas was lying to law enforcement, and Vance's testimony during the trial that it was her and her daughter who killed Harris, not Hayes, was true. The expert in false confessions stated that Hayes' IQ of 62, along with over 20 hours of interrogation, easily led to a false confession from Hayes. Regardless, Hayes' attorney stated that even his false confession did not match evidence at the scene.
Confesses to striking the victim in the back of the head with a pipe on the 2nd floor of the victim's apartment. That's what they get from Andrew Hayes after 27 hours. Danny Harris lived in a 1-story apartment. Danny Harris was not hit in the back of the head. This is the trial testimony from the medical examiner.
Harris's son, Steven, spent months building a relationship with Lucas and ended up recording her confession. Part of that was played for the court today, key evidence that helped show Hayes was wrongfully convicted. Now, Vance died in custody after being convicted of Harris's murder. Lucas was eventually arrested in Oklahoma, but died in custody after being extradited to Shelby County to face charges. Testimony will pick back up tomorrow morning at 10:30. Live at 201 Poplar, Michaela Redmond, Action News 5.